Welcome to the Long Range Pursuit Podcast, presented by Gunwerks, where we learn about and share long-range shooting techniques, science, and gear.
Welcome to the Long Range Pursuit Podcast. I'm Jason from the marketing team. Joined with me is Garrett from sales, and we've got a very special guest today, Mr. Chad Mendes. Chad, of course, is the three-time championship challenger in the featherweight division for the UFC, avid hunter, and when he's not shooting his bow at 120 yards, he's shooting a Gunwerks rifle. So he's kind of long range in all of his disciplines. So, Chad, welcome. Yeah. Take a minute to introduce yourself a little bit more and kind of your passion for hunting.
Yeah, well, thank you guys. Thank you for having me on. My passion for hunting probably started when I was like 5 or 6 years old. My dad was a big hunter when me and my brothers and sisters were all growing up. So that was like one of the things I looked forward to the most, being able to go camp and then just sneak around in the woods with him. And I remember as a little kid just kind of following him around. We were up above Fresno in the Sierras, chasing blacktail mule deer hybrids my whole life. And, rifle was something we always hunted. And then also the archery, like you said. So, a lot of my teammates actually tease and say that I basically would fight to be able to afford all my hunting, which, that's something I would say probably isn't. Yeah, it's not false. But it's definitely something I truly love to do. I have 2 daughters now. My oldest has been hunting with me for about 2.5 years now. She's been in the turkey blind with me, killing a handful of turkeys, and we've got wild pigs and some big black-tailed deer together. And I'm just super excited for my youngest. She just turned 2.5, so she's right there. She'll probably start coming with me maybe next year or the year after. So, it's just a passion of mine that I love passing on. I see the love for it in my oldest daughter's eyes, and I'm hoping my youngest will have it too. But for me, it's just, the love of being in the outdoors and just showing my kids and the younger generation what it's like to provide and just live off the land and be able to get out there and share the love that they'll have with their kids and, pass it on along. So that's something I truly love, and I feel blessed to be able to do it here in the United States.
Where did you grow up, Chad?
Oh, I'm from a little tiny cow town, Hanford, California. Nobody really ever knows where that's at, but it's about 45 to an hour south of Fresno.
Okay.
Really big dairy town, lots of ag. And that's where I was born and raised, and then ended up getting recruited to go wrestle at Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo. So after high school, moved out there, and I lived in San Luis Obispo for 5 years. And then day after graduation, threw all my stuff in U-Haul and moved up to Sacramento into Uriah Faber's spare bedroom and jumped right into pro training. I trained for 3 months, had my first pro fight, fell in love with it, and the rest is history.
Wow. That's cool. That's cool. When did you get your first, I'm jumping around a little bit. When did you get your first experience of, you grew up outdoors and that, when did you get your first experience outside of California? I know now you've hunted in a number of states, but when did that start for you, hunting outside of California?
Surprisingly, it took a really long time. My dad had never hunted out of state.
Okay.
Had our little, pockets of stuff that whether it's wild pigs or the deer or whatever it is, some waterfowl stuff, fishing was all here in California.
Sure.
Growing up.
Sure.
So he ran his own business. So it was kind of tough for him to leave for a really long time, weeks at a time to go do the out of state stuff. We didn't actually do that. Me and him did it together. I think our first time was, that was probably two years out of college. So graduated in 2008. It's probably around 2010 or 2011. And it was Southern Utah, which is crazy because I was just telling you guys about the Onyx thing we're doing. But one of our Finz and Featherz trips is Monticello, Utah. We do mule deer hunting. We've been doing it down there since that first year, which was either 2010. I'm pretty sure it was 2010. And we've been hunting every single year since, and jumped into guiding down there and absolutely love it.
I was going to say, I'm guessing you fell when you got that first experience in the game that's down there, and that happens for everybody. I grew up in Utah, so I'm up here in Cody now, but spent a lot of time down in those areas, and it's just something, until you experience it, it's kind of hard to sit and explain to somebody.
I still remember it because where I grew up hunting, obviously it's all public land. There's a ton of hunters, and the deer population isn't very concentrated. So, I mean, I remember being up there and hunting for 3, 4, 5 days at a time and not even seeing a buck, not a legal buck, not seeing a single buck,
Sure.
And along that 4 or 5 days, maybe 5 or 6 does. So it was, when we went to southern Utah, I mean, you'd look and there would be like 300 deer out there, and like 90 of them are bucks.
Right.
And me and my dad were just like, what have we
been doing?
So yeah, it was awesome. We both killed really good deer, and we had some really close friends that are the ones that kind of showed us that area.
Sure.
And we still hunt with a lot of them down there, and still share the memories that we talk about those first couple years all the time, and just laugh about it.
I bet.
Yeah, good times.
Cool.
Yeah, what I think is exciting is, a lot of people know you for your accolades in sports, right? In the UFC, in bare knuckle boxing, in grappling. You've got a big event coming up in Abu Dhabi, first part of August. But what's cool is you're not a celebrity that's turned hunter and Gunwerks collector.
Sure.
You're a hunter first.
Sure.
And, you really parlayed your notoriety and your celebrity into being able to hunt. I think that's
cool.
a pretty cool path, right? Because a lot of people just see kind of the end result, the notoriety, but you've been hunting public land,
Grinding it out.
Yeah. A lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah, man. It was, growing up, obviously we didn't harvest a lot of stuff, over the years. Obviously it's gotten a lot better, but yeah, man, I cut my teeth on all the public stuff and had definitely put in the miles and the days and grinding, and many tears wept from, when you finally do find that legal buck and you miss it, or, something screws it up and you're just like, it's the worst feeling ever. But man, it's the hunting part of it in my life, and this whole life story is such a huge piece of the puzzle. And I'm glad that nothing ever changed in that sense. I had, some of my brothers that grew up, they don't really do it much anymore. But man, it was just always such a huge passion of mine. And it's, I would almost say it's an obsession. My wife will tell you it's an obsession. Absolutely.
Sure.
But yeah, it's something I just truly love to do. Don't know how to explain much more unless you've actually been out there and you've experienced it, and you know what it's like watching those sunrises at the top of a mountain and then sitting there and glassing, like waiting for that sun to come up before you can start glassing. And, just everything that you love about being in the outdoors. Like, I crave that year round. And I feel extremely blessed, to be able to have developed Finz and Featherz and be able to do what I absolutely love to do, as far as like going out and hunting and fishing and making a living doing it. But again, I mean, to me, it's like being able to share that with the next generation, or my kids, whether it's, I have other friends who have young boys that are just now getting into hunting. I've taken out turkey hunting. My friend's son, Jackson, he wanted to do the archery situation. So I got him a bow set up, and I went and, helped him get it all sighted in. And I took him turkey hunting a few times, and he flung some arrows and missed, but it was a cool experience. And I think he's hooked. He wants to do it nonstop now. So he just got a traditional bow, and he's like getting all into that now. So to me, like the love that I can pass on for the outdoors, and seeing that love grow in somebody else, like in the younger generation, I love that more than anything at this point. Like when my daughters can hunt, I think I'm going to be more excited when they actually kill something than when I do. And I hear my buddies who are older that have kids that do that, and they say that that's for sure the case. But I'm excited to experience that myself.
Awesome. Absolutely. No, my oldest daughter is 9, and she shot her first prairie dog with a low 22.
Nice.
And you would have thought her excitement and my excitement as a father, it was like a 350 class bull, just this huge animal. It's just that introduction to the sport gets them excited.
That's cool.
So Finz and Featherz, you've taken your passion and you've actually turned it now into a business model, right? So you're actually able to say this is for work. Your hunt trips are no longer just for fun and for yourself. They're actually paying the bills. Tell us about Finz and Featherz, because it's a pretty unique business model.
Yeah. So me and a good buddy of mine, we kind of pondered what to do in my post-fight career ventures. I want to be able to do something in the outdoor industry, because obviously that's like my true passion, how do I create something to where I still get to hunt and I'm not putting all my time into only guiding? Because I do have buddies that are full-time guides and they don't ever get to hunt themselves. Sure. And it's something they feel bummed about. It obviously, guiding, you're still hunting, you're just not pulling the trigger. But like, how do I still get to go and hunt and do a lot of stuff personally, whether it's with my kids, my wife, or just on my own, but also get to share that passion with people that are like-minded and get to have fun doing it? How do we do this? Like, what can we do here? And there wasn't a ton of ideas outside of where we kind of turned with Finz and Featherz. And the way you can look at it, we're pretty much a booking agency. What we do is we team up with outfitters all over the world that already have stuff up and running, that are, qualified guides. They have reputation. And basically we just will grab either a week or charter. So when we do tuna trips, we charter a boat for the 3-day boats. Whether it is, we grab X amount of tags, we'll fill those spots with clients, and then we'll usually do at least one or sometimes two of our celebrity athletes on the trips with these clientele. So say it's a mule deer hunt down in Monticello. We've had TJ Dillashaw go down there and hunt with guys. We've had Dan Henderson, I'll go down there and hunt with guys too. Our tuna trips, we got one of our San Diego tuna trips. I'm actually leaving for tomorrow, but it's me, Dan Henderson, and we have country singer Michael Ray on that one. We've had Jared Neiman on them, Tito Ortiz, different UFC guys, Faber, Clay Guida. And basically we'll just charter these boats. We fill them up with clientele. We get a bunch of different cool prizes from a lot of companies I work with to give away on these trips. But guys and girls get to basically have a really cool adventure. They're booking something that they normally would want to go do anyways, cool tuna trip or a mule deer hunt or elk hunt. But now they get to do it alongside somebody they, watch on TV in a sport, or singing live on a stage, or whatever it may be. So we kind of wanted to make it a twist on the guide service part of it, because anybody could go to anybody and just book a hunt, and it's like, you go there, you hunt, you might have a really cool hunt, but how do we make it a little bit different than everybody else? How do we set ourselves apart in this industry and do something that nobody's really done before? And we came up with Finz and Featherz. So the cool part about this for me, and I almost feel like I've cheated the system in a sense, like sometimes I almost feel guilty taking money, because I get to go do these hunts with these guys too. So a lot of the outfitters I work out a deal, like, the athlete gets to hunt for free. So, they're spreading the marketing, tagging, posting stuff on social media, all the YouTube videos. And so it's a great marketing write-off for them. Our athletes get to hunt for free, and then we get to make money on top of it. So, I almost feel like I'm doing something illegal here, being able to hunt some of these badass elk hunts. I'm like chasing big bulls alongside clientele that are like high-fiving and knuckles, and this is awesome, and so it's, for me, I feel like I'm living my dream, and I think the trickiest part at this point in my life is having the 2 young kids and traveling a bunch and doing these trips sometimes back to back, or I now try to space stuff out. But outside of that being the only kind of tricky part, I feel like I'm just living my dream. And this is something that I, back in middle school, high school, and you're kind of lost. Like, what am I going to do when I get older? I had no idea this is what I would be doing, but man, I feel awesome, just completely blessed to be able to get out here and do this in the field and make money doing it. So hopefully this continues. I'm just going to keep grinding and growing these trips and trying to promote and getting to meet really cool people that love hunting, that love fishing, that like the passion, and something that I can kind of continue to grow down the road and keep rolling along with. So fingers crossed.
No, I think that's exciting. And a couple of things that I really liked about it is these aren't $50,000 hunts. These are affordable hunts that you're able to go on with these celebrities, and you're spending time with them. You're spending time in hunt camp. You're actually able to interact with these celebrities and spend some time together. That camaraderie that is built up around hunting and sharing the successes and failures. You can't replicate. Yeah. There's something about being able to share that time in the backwoods or out on the sea. So really cool.
Well, not only that, but I've got some notes on my paper, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Chad, but we do that event with you in Oregon, the cow elk hunt, which that tells you what a hunting nut he is, that we've got a cow elk hunt. This isn't bighorn that we're chasing. We're going to go chase cows for a few days. But I've got on my note in bold here, and you can strike this if you need to, but it says Chad will be guiding on this event. So you going to be out doing some guiding for these guys?
Yep. Yeah.
Awesome.
I have my guide license in a few places,
Cool.
and this is one of the spots that I help. My buddy Casey is the one that owns. It's Opal Butte Outfitters who we use, and this is who we use for our archery bull hunt in September. Killer bull hunt. I mean, tons of elk on this ranch. And then we move into the late season November and turn it into the Cal Academy that we do with you guys. So we do some long range instruction. Figuring out situational shooting for these guys that aren't super comfortable with shooting, long range or just in hunting situations.
Sure.
So get to learn a lot of that stuff. And then we take a lot of that stuff with our Gunwerks systems that we just got to shoot with for the last day and a half, turn it into a actual hunting situation. We take them out and guide them on a cow elk hunt. So, they get to learn the shooting part of it, all the hunting situational type stuff, the actual hunt, and then also get to take home a bunch of high quality, unbelievable elk meat.
Yes.
Which is that part of it's probably my favorite. But yeah, it's a good time. We do have 2 spots still available.
Okay.
If anybody is interested.
Okay.
We had a group that just needed to roll over to the next year, so we are excited to say that we have a couple spots. So if anybody wants to get on and book, you guys can email us at. Just go to our Finz and Featherz website, and Finz and Featherz, both spelled with Z's. You guys can see it there, finzandfeatherz.com. And you can also look at our tabs page, and it'll show the trips for the year. If there's anything else on there that maybe interests anyone, we have spots available. Honestly, at this point, we have a very big clientele base that is return clientele.
Cool.
A lot of those guys, we give first dibs to roll over to the next year.
Sure.
But sometimes some of those guys want to jump on different things year to year, and we'll have spots open up. So if there's anything that interests anyone, just shoot us an email. We do have a wait list, and we'll get you on some of the things, but some of the things we don't.
Sure.
Our tuna trips, I mean, we do anywhere from 2 to 6 of those trips a year. And we can fit up to 27 people on each boat. So we have a lot of spots to fill. So if that's something anybody's interested, also feel free to shoot us an email. Let us know. Those are a lot of fun. But yeah, that cow elk hunt it's a good time. Tons of elk up there. The lodge is absolutely beautiful. There's separate cabins behind it. Great food. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be our going into our 4th year doing it up there. And it is a good time for sure.
Cool. Yeah, sounds like it checks all the boxes. So again, kind of end of November, right before Thanksgiving, a couple spots left, little training, little hunting, see how Chad does on his guiding skills. That would be, sounds like a lot
we're
of
going to
fun.
be sending a Gunwerks instructor as well. So there's that day of kind of prep where we're kind of helping clients because, I'm newer to long range shooting. And so, that can be intimidating.
Yeah.
If you haven't done that before, this is kind of going to kind of warm you up before you go out. So if you're intimidated by the long range shooting, that instruction will help. If you're intimidated that Chad's going to knock you out because you say something stupid, kind of having an extra day to bond and hunt camp, so I think it's going to be a fun trip.
These have been well received. We're probably going on a year about 12 for doing events where we do hunting and training combined. And you're exactly right. For the person that's looking for some hand holding, and there's nothing to be ashamed of by that, but they're looking to break into it. The events like this are perfect. We do Africa, we do antelope in New Mexico. This cow in Oregon is awesome. We've done a few aoudad, but if you've ever thought about doing it, this sounds like a great opportunity to jump on for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're super excited. This is one of my favorite hunts a year, mainly because it's a lot of kind of newer hunters, people that aren't super confident or comfortable yet.
Yeah.
And those are the types of people that want to learn and they listen and they follow directions.
Yep.
But it's also just great to see a lot of people that go on these hunts have never killed anything before.
Sure.
Some do, and we get guys that just want to go load up on cow elk meat, but then also learn the instruction part of it from top-notch instructors. So that part of it's there also. But we do get a handful of people that have never done anything like this before, and this is our first hunt. And I think, and this year we actually have a woman that's booked on it that will be her first time hunting or killing anything. So
good.
She's super excited. She emailed us back and forth and jumped on the phone probably 1,000 times. Had a few questions, but she is just fired up. And I'm super excited to be there and just teach her and see that huge smile on her face after going through that course, learning everything, and then getting to put one behind the shoulder on a big cow elk, when people get excited about that, and then, we're deboning all the meat, they get to look at all that in the cooler and get to know that they're taking all that home. Cool. It's a pretty good feeling.
That is.
Yeah, that education going into it. If you haven't come out west and shot, at distance, when you were sitting in front of that animal, and maybe you're a few hundred yards out, and maybe your guide is a little, encouraging too much, shoot, yeah. Like not having that proper training can really lead to a miss, and not filling your tag. So what do you do for training? Kind of on an ongoing basis. I mean, you've got a lot of tags you're doing this year. You use the Gunwerks rifle system, so you have that strong equipment. But what are you doing for that training on a regular basis to stay fresh?
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple things. Obviously, the physical side of it. For me, just training daily. I try to do, some high intensity climb work type stuff on a bike. To stay physically strong on the bottom end, because and I know when you're out there, it doesn't matter what type of instructional training you've had done with a rifle, if you get so fatigued trying to get to a spot to get set up to kill something, everything goes out the window. It's like the saying that Mike Tyson said, like, everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face. Sure. It's the same thing in the hunting world. Like, if you got to sprint up 300 yards to get to a peak because that everything's on the other side, and you're doing everything you can to get up there, but you're so out of shape that you're about puking at the top, it doesn't matter what with the gun, you're probably going to miss or not even be able to take the shot. So for me, the physical part of it's huge. But then the training stuff, like I just got back from a big event that Lupo put on up in Oregon, where we did a full, I always forget the name of it. It's a type of shooting competitions they do where it's timed. You got 4 minutes. You got to find the target, range it, get set up, make the shot. And sometimes there's multiple targets in that situation. You have to, what do they call that again?
So it's probably an NRL or PRS series of it.
NRL is what they were calling it. And that was my first time doing one of those types of style shooting situations. I absolutely loved it. The first setup we went to, I got, obviously in my mind, I'm like, you got to be quick. You got to, go fast from one target to the next. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy terrain. I mean, there's like, big rocks, and we're in rattlesnake country, and, sage and pokey stuff everywhere. And I find the first target, shoot. They're like, all right, jump to the next one. But it was like up the hill about 10 yards. Mm-hmm. And I grabbed my stuff, and I got my backpack, and I'm just trying to sprint up the hill, slipping, falling,
sure,
and like just eating it. I cut my knee, and I'm like, man, I need to slow down. I don't think I need to go that fast. So, but it was a cool situation. It feels very much like hunting situations, in the sense that you don't always have the most time to find the animal, especially if your spotter's like, dude, there's a huge bull right there, or a mule deer that's bedded, but it looks like he just got up, you better hurry. And you have that like panic of, okay, I need to get this done. I need to find this thing. I need to get my rifle set up, get on it and make the shot before it goes up and over this ridgeline, and having that pressure completely changes everything outside of just being on a shooting bench, taking your time, squeezing, jacking another one, squeezing. And so for me, this shooting experience was probably one that I'll never forget. I mean, we went through that whole course, and I feel like I learned so much as far as, being able to, like, we would have certain ranges, and in my mind, I'm like, I'm good. I'm just going to remember it. But you don't.
Yeah.
Maybe I did 1 or 2, but some of them had like 4 targets. And I was like, by the time you get to the third one, I'm like, God, I should have wrote it down. What was that range? And then I'm sitting there trying to fumble to find it again. So, just the different things that I learned on that course, doing those. I've come out to the Gunwerks academies before. I've done the shooting out there with you guys, which was awesome. I learned so damn much. And then just honestly up here, we have wild pigs that are our season's open year round. And a lot of the times, like anywhere from like December to, basically July, we'll get out there and hunt those things quite a bit, because, there's not a ton of other stuff big game wise open during that time. So it's a great way to just stay fresh on your shooting. We'll get out there sometimes and do some long range shots on pigs. Also mix in the bow stuff too here and there. But I try to keep something going through my rifle barrel throughout the year until our big game starts, and then and then it's hit the ground running. So, but outside of that, yeah, the physical part of it, trying to keep in shape as best I can year round. Obviously trying to ramp up kind of the training right before season starts, so we're in physical shape to hike and feel good when we're at altitude and chasing animals, doing these shooting courses, and then just getting out and hunting as much as I can throughout the slower times of the year. So I'd say that's probably my go-to.
That's awesome. That match you did, I think, is as close to a simulation of like you said, a hunt as you can get without the hunt. On I think the fact that you're under a stopwatch, there's a little bit of that element of competition and people looking over your shoulder and a score. We do a match in June here. We've done it for the last few years, and about 150 shooters, and that's the constant theme. Our LRU is great, and it's a great place to start, but we can sit a lot of people down on the bench at 500 yards, and they can feel very comfortable every single time. But when you get a stopwatch or you get an animal and you get, like you said, the sagebrush and the thorn and the uncomfortable position, what you did at the bench really kind of goes out the window. It really does. Now, we have to start at the bench, and it's foundational to get up to there. But just because you shoot off a bench a long ways doesn't translate out into the field. And so, yeah, it's good to hear that you get a little of that experience, because I imagine you ate a little humble pie in those couple days up there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're like, I'm going to nail this watch.
Yeah.
And then you end up cycling forward through, and you're like, man,
a misdial turret, or, hold left wind when it was right, which is the other left, and just rookie mistakes that, thank goodness you did it up at the Leopold's event and not on that deer at Monticello that would have haunted you for the next 12 months. Brings me to a question that I'd like to ask you that I hear a lot. I've been here 13, 14 years now, back when we just sold 2 calibers and just a couple options. But since I've started, folks have come to us to buy a shooting system. And to a certain degree, they feel like they're buying Thor's hammer, right? They want this. And that's what we're selling, and that's what we're building. We're building a system. But just because you buy our equipment and we send you out the door with it, it does not qualify you. And even you, Chad Mendes, that grew up hunting since little, you're not fully equipped to go start shooting out at these distances. And so tell me, Chad, a little bit about your journey. Why did you come to Gunwerks, and how did you get to the point where you felt like now you can pull that 7mm out at any distance in front of your buddies, because you don't want Jared Neiman. You don't need to miss that still in front of those guys. That looks bad. But how did you get to that point where you felt like, you were capable of doing this on your own?
Yeah. So, obviously growing up, I think I had and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, but I had any Big 5 rifle that I could afford as a kid,
Sure.
$200 rifle that, I basically was maxing out at like 200 yards, and I didn't feel comfortable shooting anything past that type thing,
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I grew up. That's how my dad was too. We didn't really know a lot of the technical stuff as far as shooting goes. And it was basically just, the good old boys, just grab our rifles, we're going to go, there's a deer, shoot it type thing, and I had no idea that shooting itself, there was so much technique that goes into it. And then I'd say probably, when was that? That was probably a year or two after college. And I say most of my big hunting stuff kicked off after college, mainly because wrestling consumed so much of my time through college, along with school and graduating. I honestly had to put a lot of my passions on hold as far as hunting, fishing, and all that stuff goes. But once I had graduated and I moved up to Sacramento, and I don't want to say I had more free time, but, training for fighting. And then after you'd have a fight, typically we would take a month off or something just to let our bodies heal, and stay out of the gym for a little bit and then jump back in it, because, we might have a fight booked in another 3 or 4 months. So I'd have a little bit of time after that stuff to kind of explore more things in the hunting and fishing world. One of my buddies, I ended up going on a hunt, and my buddy had a Gunwerks, and I had never heard of Gunwerks or any of the long range system yet.
Sure.
And he whips this thing out, and it's, nothing like anything I'd ever seen. Like, what in the hell is that, dude? And he's got a big Night Force scope on it, and it's all dialed. And he's like, "Oh, dude, I can shoot this thing out to like 1,400 yards or whatever he said at that time." And I'm like, I didn't even know that was possible. I'm like, "Are you a damn sniper? Like, what is this?"
Right.
And so we actually sat down, and I got to shoot a little bit. And at first I was like, "Dude, let's start at like 300 or 400 yards." And it almost felt too easy, and I'm like, "Dude, this is like, I feel like I'm shooting at like 80 yards.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I know, man, these systems are pretty damn cool." So we started stretching it out, and I think by the end of that day, I was hitting stuff at 1,000, which again felt pretty easy. And so I was like, "Dude, I got to look into these things." So ended up going on, I drew a tag maybe a year or two later in the backcountry here in California. It was a really cool tag. We did horses. We had a buddy that packed us in, and we, set up our base camp. And anyways, I reached out to my buddy. I said, "Hey, dude, is there any chance I could borrow that rifle?"
Need that gun. Yeah.
Yes.
Test the friendship.
And killed a really nice buck back in there with it. And I'm like, "Dude, that's it. I got to get one of these things." Yeah. So that's where my love with Gunwerks kind of kicked off, and started looking into the systems a little bit more. The first one that I ended up getting was the Magnus. I got a 7 mag in that, and absolutely love it. That might still be my favorite Gunwerks own. But yeah, I ended up reaching out, got my first rifle set up, got it shipped, fell in love with it. And I think at this point I have 1, 2, 4. I think I have 4 rifles now. I think I have the Muzzy coming now, the muzzleloader, and I got another one, 300 PRC coming. So what's cool though is I take these on all our Finz and Featherz hunts, and I let a lot of the clients use them if they don't have anything set up for long range yet, and then just try to teach them and show them, like, look, this is how easy it is if you guys can learn the system. They fall in love with it. I've had multiple clients reach out and buy their own after that. And then also the academy that we do, when you guys bring your instructors out and then have all the rifles there for people to use, not only on the range and all the skill set part of it, but then actually getting to take it out on a hunt. Sure. When they kill that cow elk at 600-700 yards and it feels like it's 150 yards, every single one of them falls in love with it. So it's not a hard sell when people get to touch these and feel these and hold these and use these rifle setups. It's a pretty damn easy sell when guys are like, "Okay, I'm stepping my game up." And that's exactly what happened to me. The first time I used this, I was like, I'm blown away with this rifle and how easy the system is. So I think that's one thing. It's pretty intimidating. Like, you think, "Oh man, I could never shoot out to 1,000 yards. Like I don't understand it. Like, it just, there's too much math and, there's too many things you got to worry about." But it's not true. I mean, you guys have simplified everything with the rangefinders and, now the optics that can connect everything to the rifle. And, it's just being able to, your motto, 1,000 yards out of the box. Like, there's nothing that could be truer about this rifle setup and system. I think anybody that, even if somebody that never shot, in fact, here's a great example of that. The camera guy, when I came out there to Gunwerks and did the academy, was not a hunter, not a shooter, and was sitting there filming us the whole day. Yeah. And we were smacking still at like 1,200 yards. Yeah. And by the end of the day, he's like, "Man, can I get this right?" We're like, "Yeah, dude, lay down." First shot, 1,000 yards, smacks the still. And obviously we showed him how to set the turret, what to do, where to hold wind. Yeah. Boom, smacks it. And it's like, dude, that doesn't tell you something about this system. I don't know how to sell this to anybody else. Like, this guy doesn't even shoot before, has never even shot before. Yeah. So,
no offense to the cameraman listening, but yes, that's a great story.
I don't even remember what his name was, but I was just like, wow, that's a cool selling point right there.
Yeah, no, it's good to hear that that's how you see it. That's been our intent, because the truth is, it's actually very complicated to repeat that. Anybody can walk a shot. Anybody can walk any rifle into a target at 1,000 yards, right? You get enough ammo sitting there. We can keep holding up and holding over, and we can get there. What we're selling is the ability to do that on the first shot, that one shot that counts. The one that matters. And like I said, it is very tricky. As you sat through our LRU down here, and Brian pulled up all those slides, that how technical this is, and all the math that we tried to forget 20 years ago that's involved in this. And Aaron, it's funny, you go back. I think our company started because a professor at UW challenged Aaron's senior project about an app that was going to make this concept, getting some data and giving a solution out at distance very simple. And this instructor laughed at Aaron and said nobody would ever buy it and it's stupid. And I wish we could bring that instructor here today and tour our facility and show him, because I'll bet you, when Aaron talks about it, his countenance changes. And it was that moment when he said, you know what, watch this. And that's parlayed into our range finding technology, and literally just the ability to do it with a nice, elegant solution for anybody that doesn't have a background to do it. I mean, that's been our passion. That's what we're sitting here today doing. All 95 employees here are trying to churn that out on a daily basis. So it's glad that you pick up on that.
Absolutely. And going back to the academy part of it, when I came out there, you're right. You go through all those slides, and that's the intimidating part. Like, even I was like, I'm never going to remember any of this. Like, are they expecting me to I'm like sitting there trying to take notes, and I'm like, I'm screwed. Like, I'm not going to be able to do this.
Sure.
And then you go through all this, and it's like, well, we just wanted to show you this basically to let you know that's what's going on inside this rangefinder.
Sure.
And this thing will do all that for you. So it's just pretty crazy, the technology and the amount of math and way more brains that I have that goes into that thing.
Yeah, very cool.
Perfect. Well, Chad, we appreciate you. We appreciate your evangelization of the sport, really.
Yeah.
Getting your kids involved, what you do through Finz and Featherz, and bringing people on their first hunts, and
pretty awesome.
Very exciting. So thanks so much for your time. Again, if folks are interested in those last couple spots for our Oregon cow hunt, where Gunwerks will help get you on target for that first shot, the one that matters, the one we've been talking about, there's a couple spots left. So hurry up over to Finz and Featherz and get those booked.
Yeah.
But thanks so much, Chad.
Thanks, Chad.
Awesome.
Appreciate you, sir.
Take care.
All right, until next time.
If you like what you're hearing here, please take a second and give us a 5-star rating and a positive review on iTunes or on your favorite podcast app. We appreciate your feedback and suggestions for topics you'd like discussed or questions you want answered on the podcast. You can reach out on Facebook or Instagram, or send us an email to podcast@gunwerks.com. Also, be sure and check out our full offering of long-range gear at gunwerks.com. Use promo code LRP for free shipping on any order.